Hey, a brand new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast is about to begin. It's time to be inspired by simple and actionable solutions for you and your business. If you're an established entrepreneur or just laying down the first brick of your future empire, the mantra is the same. We will flip any failure into a positive and use it to our advantage. This show is all about turning coal into diamonds. With the right plan and mindset, anything is possible. I'm Jennifer Dawn, your host, business coach, and founder of Best Planner Ever, and I'm here to help you achieve all your ambitious goals. Success is closer than you think. Let's do this. Hey, everybody. I'm super excited to dive in today, and we have a wonderful, wonderful guest for you today. His name is Mr. Sebastien Lagree, and he is the CEO and founder of Lagree Fitness. Welcome, Sebastien.
Thank you, Jennifer.
We're so excited to have you here today. I have so many wonderful questions. I cannot wait to just dive into this conversation. But first, would you mind just sharing with everybody a little bit about you, your journey, and how you came to be the CEO and founder of Lagree Fitness?
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity, first of all, to be interviewed by you and to be able to share my story. My story is a little bit, it's probably like a cliche, I think, in some aspect, and then it's different on others. In my 20s, I was lifting weight, I was in bodybuilding. I was doing a lot of photography in those days. So I was up in Oregon and in Washington State, do photographies and videos and shit like that. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to try my luck with acting, So I finished my school in Seattle University, drove down to LA and then started to do basically, going on auditions and things like that. And nothing worked out, with the acting. But everywhere I went for a job interview and audition, the producers or the director or the casting director, whatever, they would say, "Hey, you're in great shape," because I was big at the time, I was bodybuilding. And so they would ask me, "Hey, are you a personal trainer?" And and my answer was the same. No, I'm here for the acting. I'm not here to fucking personal train you guys. And after 30 days, literally this happened like so many times that I took it as a sign, because I didn't come to LA to be in the fitness industry at all. So I'm like, okay, after 30 days of struggling, I'm like, okay, maybe I cannot get an acting gig, but I'm getting a lot of opportunities to personal train people. And I probably have enough clients right now to just stay in LA, make a living, and then still do my auditions. So that became the new game plan after 30 days. So I'm like, okay, the next person that asks me if I'm a personal trainer, I'll say yes. And then I'll find a place to train them and I'll make it work. And then sure enough, a couple of days later, guy asked me and say, "Are you a personal trainer?" I was like, "Yes." Where do you personal training at? So then I started to look for places in LA, and I landed in this one studio which had a Pilates studio in the weight training. So they had a Pilates studio downstairs, they had a weightlifting room upstairs, they had a cardio room, they had a dance room. It was kind of a multifunctional studio, and I didn't realize how this was going to be pivotal to my success, right? Because I didn't understand that at the time that usually Pilates studio, especially in the 90s, were not with a gym. It was just separate. You had the gym, you had, then you had your big box gym, right? You have your personal training gym, then you have your Pilates studio, you have your yoga studio, you have your spinning studios, but they don't mix and match, right? And for me, that was very important because, I went to the gym, talked to the owner, I said, "Hey, listen, can I use the gym? I have clients who want to train." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, you can use the gym." And so, he took me around, kind of tested me a little bit on my knowledge, because this guy was also a bodybuilder, was a chiropractor, massage therapist. I mean, he had all these on this wall, you had all these accreditation, all these certificates. And he realized that, it's like, "Hey, your stuff, you're pretty good at fitness." He's like, "Have you considered teaching Pilates?" I'm like, "What? Pilates? What the fuck is this? I've never heard this, and I've been reading, I'm 25 years old. I've been reading every freaking magazine on fitness, every book on every encyclopedia that I could find, I was absorbing, nutrition, working out, all that stuff, I was really into it. I'm like, "No, I've never heard of that," So he took me downstairs, went in the room, and he shows me the equipment, and I see right away, like, "Oh my God, what the fuck is this?" It's like, I see people whispering, no loud music, no weight dropping on the floor. It's all very quiet. People are whispering, comment. They're working on this wooden machine. And I'm just like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "This looks like completely bogus. This is not for me."
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, you can make $100 an hour, teaching that." I'm like, $100 an hour? It's back in 98. I'm just like, damn, 25 years old. I'm like, that's not too bad. I'm like, people pay $100 to work out on these machines. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, all right, fine. I'll do the certification. How long is the certification? He's like, listen, if you come tomorrow at 2:00 in the afternoon, I have your first clients at 5 p.m. I did a 3-hour training with him before he gave me on the floor with the first person. And basically I had to figure out, I had to figure it out. I didn't realize that after this, I found out that real Pilates training takes 2 years, not 2 hours, right? It's a very intense certification. And I literally was, after 3 hours, teaching this person Pilates, and the person they bought a package and referred another friend. And then before I knew it, I was just teaching, Pilates. And I was also teaching my own clients weightlifting. And the thing that I realized quickly is, I had all these women coming to me to do this Pilates method. The thing I realized is they would all go to the gym after they left me. And so I'm just like, listen, why are you going to the gym? Well, because I don't feel like I'm getting the results that I want. Okay. I'm not getting my butt's not lifting. I'm not losing weight. I like Pilates. It feels good, but it's not a transformative workout. And I'm like, well, of course it's not. I'm just like, hey, I come from guts and glories. I'm just like, I fucking lift weight until I puke. I'm just like, of course, you're never going to get result doing this. It's, I can tell you that. But I told that client, I said, listen, if you want to, I can modify the workout that we do on the Pilates equipment. I can intensify the method so that you're going to basically feel the results. Let me ask the owner if that's okay with him. So I went to the owner. The owner's like, Sebastien, I don't give a shit what you teach, okay? As long as these people come back and they keep coming back and they keep spending money, you do whatever you want on the machines. Great. So not realizing what I was doing, I started Lagree Fitness back in 98, literally, by modifying the Pilates workout, on this machine. And what happened next is been just a tsunami. It was just an avalanche of success. I had celebrities coming in. I was on TV now, doing my program. So I was invited by gyms, Gold Gym would invite me. I had other places. I could do basically this Pilates Plus workout on the mat work. And it just took me by storm. I really didn't realize that what I was doing was going to be the birth of a whole new fitness method. Okay. I just did it because I'm like, it made sense to me. I'm just like, well, obviously, I don't know Pilates, but I know exercise and I know physiology and I know anatomy. And I know that by doing this exercise, you're not going to get these results. Okay. Period. So modify the workout. I started to basically, have this clientele, and I became very popular at that gym, and I became too popular. And the problem is that, the problem, which I thought was a problem at the time, turned out to be an opportunity for me. Well, the owner that had took me under his wing was tired of the business. He tried to sell the studio back to me. And I said, Sebastien, I think you're a great guy. I think you're going to do very well at the studio. You should have the studio. Buy it from me. I'm like, I don't have the fucking money. What are we going to do? And plus, I didn't come here to own a fitness studio. I'm here for the acting, because I still at that point, I'm still going on my auditions. So I'm like, no, I don't want to buy your fucking fitness studio. I'm not interested. So he sold it to another client, and that client hated me. He hated me because I was so popular, and I've never been a guy who brown nose people, right? I'm just, I'm not going to suck ass. I'm going to tell you what it is. You take it, you leave it. I don't care. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what I think. If you don't like it, I leave. And so, of course, I was the only trainer. I was the most popular trainer in his gym. Everybody wanted to work out with me. And, but I was not taking his thing because, the guy was also a little shady, So, basically I left. Then I'm looking, this fine, I'll just do my workout at another Pilates studio. Well, what happened is this: as I was knocking, basically, I was door to door, right, to Pilates studio, say, hey, I have all these clients. By the time that I was basically just left that gym, I was doing group reformer classes. So I needed 4 reformers, right? So I needed 4 machines to do my classes. And no other studios in LA would have me. It's like, oh, wait a minute, you're Sebastien Lagree? We heard about you. No. You're not doing Pilates on the machine. You are not welcome at a studio. You cannot teach at a studio. We heard you making people sweat on the reformer. That doesn't happen. Literally, when I say that today, because I've changed the whole Pilates industry, there's no more Pilates anymore. Pilates is now going through a whole new evolution of its own because of Lagree. So they're doing like a progressive Pilates or contemporary Pilates or high intensity Pilates, but that shit didn't exist before I came in the picture, right? So it's funny that, back then I was literally just excommunicated, from every single Pilates studio because my style was so different, right? And now all the Pilates studios in LA teach what I'm doing, So anyway, they all forbid me to teach at the location. I realized, oh shit, that's what I do for a living. And I need to do group reformer classes. So what I did is I decided to rent an apartment. So I looked for the apartment around Beverly Hills that had the biggest living room. And then there I put basically four leg rows. And then I started to operate my classes and got kicked out of my apartment because the landlord came in a year later. He's like, Sebastien, we're getting complaints. You're getting 4 women coming every hour of your apartment. And I told him, I say, listen, it's not what you think. I know I'm French, but there is no way. No French people can handle 40 women a day. All right. I'm just telling you that right now. I'm teaching my workout on these machines. You can come, you can just check it out. The landlord was very nice. He just wanted to resolve the situation amicably. So he gave me like a 6 months notice to vacate, the house, the apartment. So by then I had enough money to actually open a legit studio commercially. So I opened my studio, and opening the studio, realized that, now I was paying my rent was much higher. So I had to go beyond the 4 machines, because originally I was not going to go beyond 4 machines, right? So I had to go to 10 machines in order to justify everything. And I went to 10 reformers. It changed everything. It was impossible for me to teach my workout on 10 reformer. It was just a headache. And I quickly realized, like, listen, and I was making also a lot of money. I mean, I was in those days, the studio was generating close to $100,000 a month. So it was making a lot of money. When you're in your late 20s, you're making that kind of money. It's just like, wow, all of a sudden you realize, maybe I should be doing this instead of just acting, because I think I can do something just very powerful with this. But by then, in that time, this was around 2003, 2004. I was still very much considering my career in acting, but now I had a really strong, not a hobby, but I had actually a good business, that could really justify, that could really, help me out. So I decided to basically invest the money and then make my own version of the reformer, which I call the Proformer, because I realized that, if I'm going to be in there and I'm going to be teaching this method for years to come until I get, an acting break, I have to be able to teach the workout I really want to teach, because the reformer is clearly not built for what I want to do. And I've done many videos on the subject, because people keep calling the mega former or the equipment that I make a reformer. I'm like, no. I don't make reformers. Reformers don't work for my method. So I started to invest money and time in making this new machine. My new machine, the first one that came out was the Proformer, came out in 2006. That became a whole new level of success, because now people are like, oh my God, this machine is fantastic. So celebrities wanted it, people wanted to buy it, and I started to I had to figure out how I was going to sell these things. Do I want to franchise? Do I want to just get an investor to basically just open studios on my own? And I went with the license, because I'm like, no, at that point, I'm still thinking, shit, I'll start to use the success of the studio, sell licenses, and then with the money, I'm actually produce my own fucking movies. So then that's what I did. So I started to produce, I produced my first pilot. So I did a pilot called Waistline, it was a spoof on the fitness industry, because by then I had seen, in LA, you're going to see everything and anything. You're going to see fitness trainers that are just clowns, and there's so much, it's such a circus, in LA. The fitness industry is really a very funny industry for me when I look from outside in, because it just, the characters, I mean, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of things that goes on into the fitness industry. It's a very funny industry, and I think it's a very entertaining industry. So I wanted to do a show that would point this out, So Waistline does, and then of course, it doesn't get picked up. We try, and in the meantime, the business continued to do strong. I mean, we get more celebrity support, more press is coming to us. The signs that keep coming in that I'm supposed to do this. The universe is telling me, Sebastien, forget about acting. Do this. This is what you need to do. You fucking idiot. Stop thinking about being the next Arnold or next Rock or the next Jean-Claude. This is what you're supposed to do. You get it? So finally, in 2008, I start to realize, okay, I'm going to put the acting thing aside. Okay. So I've been in LA for 10 years, So for me, I felt like I was really just not kind of a big failure. It's so funny, because it's still sometime today, I feel like I could have just continued with that and it would have eventually worked, But I had this business right in my hand that was ready to fucking explode like a volcano, right? So I went with the business, And I decided, okay, I'm going to start to really study my fitness industry, because by then everything was gut feelings. Everything was just like whatever I wanted to do. Shit, I'm going to put a big dick on the reformer. I'm going to fucking do this. I'm just like, whatever I want to do, I'm going to fucking do it. Right.
Yeah.
So 2008, 2009, 2010, I started to really pay more attention. So the first thing I did, I canned the Proformer. I decided to do a new machine called the Megaformer, because the Proformer was just impossible to ship. Remember, I made the Proformer for me. So it was a long machine, over 10 feet long. It was a heavy machine. This was not a machine that was basically that you could ship all around the world. You could ship to China, for example, or Japan or Korea, in places where they had really tight building, tight space. I didn't think about the logistics. So I started to really think about what I wanted to do. And also the Proformer was a good test, because the Proformer was basically a reformer on steroids. That's really what the Proformer was. So I've learned a lot from that and realized, okay, that's not the direction I want to go, because I really feel that Pilates was just simply not a direction for me. It has already been done. And I felt that there was a need for something that was way more intense, but low impact. I realized that low impact was going to be really, I think, the future in fitness, And it's funny because in 2023, this year, now reports are coming out that more and more Americans are looking for low impact workout. It's on the rise. In the last 3 years, people are seeking more low impact workout. So I think I was really ahead with the way I thought about this, but it was natural to me. I'm like, why am I going to do something in fitness? Because it's so fucking obvious. When I make the machines, I'm like, why aren't people have designed this? I have a warehouse full of inventions, things that I haven't even patented yet, because it just pours out of the brain, because it just makes sense. When people work out in my gym, they're like, "Oh my God, where are you going to make this machine? Where are you going to make that machine? This machine is amazing. I got 30 other machines in here that I built that are just like fantastic that I work out on." Right. And so I was not still taking myself seriously, but obviously the outside world was taking me seriously. So 2010, 2011, I started to rework the Megaformer, the M1, the M2, and start to basically just evolve the machine. And with the evolution of the machine, I was able to further define the workout, Lagree Fitness, or what it is. And then basically in the last 10 years, I've just been expanding product lines. So now we don't only have the Megaformer, we have now the Evo, we have a new Evo 2, we have the Micro, we have the Mini. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to see, okay, where can I stick all these machines? So I have the Micro. The Micro is a great machine. If people don't have any room, the Micro is 50 pounds. It's only 71 inches long. It's light, portable. You can fit it under your bed, your couch. It takes nothing. Then we have the slightly bigger model. And basically what I'm doing is I'm following the Russell doll model. We have the Micro, the Mini Pro, the Mega, the Evo, and then the machines are getting substantially bigger, more functionality. And that way we can sell machines to hotels, hotel chains. We can sell machines to people. People can open a studio now for less than $10,000 with Lagree Fitness. They can buy the Micro, training, buy the license, buy everything for less than $10,000. So I've really been able to just make this as accessible as possible. And then we also started to do a virtual class as well. COVID has kind of just presented new challenges, but also new opportunities. So now we have a virtual platform, and everything right now is firing on all the cylinders. We're selling Megas, Mega license, Micro, Mini, virtual classes online, and everything starts to just go like this now. There you go. So that's the quickest I could tell you, because in the last 25 years, Jennifer, my life has been like this up, down, up, down. I mean, it's been this fucking roller coaster ride, but always on the upward trend. And I got to tell you, you need to have a good head on the shoulders. You need this head to be nicely screwed on his shoulders, because it's an emotional roller coaster for sure.
Yeah. No question whatsoever. And I love how I'm very curious, because even in my business, people had said, you should go be a business coach, because I'm a business coach and I've been doing it for about 10 or 11 years now. And I had businesses in the past, and people had said, oh, you should go do this. And I didn't listen to them. And I remember taking on a marketing client when I was transitioning out of corporate, and my client was a psychic. She was like an intuitive psychic person. And she gives me an impromptu reading on one of our work calls, just out of the blue. And she's like, Jennifer, I see you as a business coach. You should immediately rebrand yourself. I see big money in it for you. And then she didn't pay her bill, and she stiffed me on the bill. And I'm like, I'm not listening to this quack. Are you kidding me? But literally,
That's
I had a
awesome.
psychic say to me, like, this is what you should go do, when I was in one of those transition periods trying to figure it out. And it was years in my practice before I finally said, you know what? Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should actually just make the decision that this is what's presenting. I should just go after it. And the moment that I like made that decision, that's when the business really started to take off. Not that there wasn't success, there was success, but there was a kind of that moment where I was kind of like got in alignment and just finally said, all right, I'm going to let go of these other things and I'm really just going to focus on what's presenting. And I'm curious, like, did you see that as well when you finally just said, all right, I'm going to let go of this
Absolutely.
acting thing and then focused on the
Absolutely.
fitness? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. What happened when you finally just said, all right, I guess I'm going to let go of this and focus on this?
Absolutely. I think the minute you realize what the universe wants you to do. So I don't know if it's like this for every person living on earth, but I know for some people, because I talk to the people, some people are meant to do something. I don't know if everyone is, but I know for me, I am meant to do that. So the minute I say, all right, I will do this, boom, everything came to me. And everyone that was an important part in my business, every opportunity came at the time where I needed it. It's just amazing when you follow what you're supposed to do, you finally follow your own path, and you are aligned with the universe. It's like being on Santa Monica Boulevard and you see all the green lights, boom, 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 no red lights, and you go for it. And that's it. And it becomes effortless. But you're right. I think that, a lot of us are stubborn. We think we want this, but in reality, we need that. And the minute you align, with what the universe wants you to do, then it's fucking effortless if things are coming to you. Yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine, and she told me exactly the same thing. The minute she decided to do this new venture, to follow this new direction, all of a sudden she's meeting people that completely feed into that path. But just amazing, because the direction she's going is going to be very hard. It's very competitive. And she told me, yeah, that person called me out of the blue to do this person, blah, blah, blah. She's meeting all the right people. She's assembling all the team. And a month ago, she didn't know anything of this industry. And that's people coming to her. So absolutely. Me, I'm hugely spiritual. I mean, I meditate, I manifest, I think that meditation, that's where the mental part of being an entrepreneur or having your business is the most important part, especially especially because every business, you're going to have the peaks and the inevitable valleys. It's very cyclical. And I think a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs cannot handle that part right there, that low part. It's inevitable. COVID was, for example, a great example of that. How do you handle COVID? How do you stay strong mentally when you look after 14 months, your business, like all our fitness studios were closed, we had to think outside the box. But for a lot of people, it was devastating mentally because it was just not knowing when life can resume. And people were calling me. I had to do a lot of coaching on this and tell people like, listen, I gave people opportunities during COVID because prior COVID, we were just basically, I was just coming up with the micro. So the micro was basically this smaller machine that was, very inexpensive. And that machine was released on March 2020, right when basically we have, basically all the government is mandating all the fitness location, to shut down. And it just boosted on micro. I mean, I just like, whoa, it was just crazy. That happened because I'm aligned with what I'm supposed to do. All of this. I had the idea of the micro. The micro came to me because I already knew somehow, subconsciously, that something bad was going to happen. And the micro literally carried us through the whole pandemic. And I was able to also help many licensees because the micro allowed us to operate outside. And it gave birth to basically the micro, the mini pro. So COVID, in a way, hurt my business, the main part of my business, but it helped a whole new branch to grow of the tree. And now it made the tree so much stronger. But that's because I think I'm aligned and I'm doing now what I'm supposed to do, and I still do everything with gut feelings. I look at the market, I do pay attention to the data, but I don't really go by that. I also go see with gut feeling because I feel that some of us subconsciously, we are more aware than other people and we have certain information that other people don't have. And just that's the way it is because we're supposed to do that.
Yeah, I agree completely. And you make such a great point about the peaks and the valleys. And no business is going to be perfect right out of the box. I mean, everybody, of course, wants to have a wildly successful business, but there are going to be those valleys. And if you are not able to move through the valley, you're never getting to that next peak. And so I would love to hear, is there one particular valley or one particular challenge that you faced that you really struggled to kind of get through so that you could kind of get to that next peak?
I think sometimes, when you work for yourself, you get these episodes, there's like these anxiety episodes, and I think it's regardless if the studio's doing, or the business doing well or not. Sometimes you just like, you trick yourself, into thinking, oh, wow, this is so good, but how long is this going? And you start to doubt yourself, and it comes and goes, right? And that part I hate. This is for me, like, this is the emotional valley for me, is when I start to kind of doubt myself. For whatever reason, I got these ideas that come in, but I very quickly get myself back on top, because I cannot manifest any negative emotions or any negative thoughts, because I know that I will provoke that. I know for me, I will manifest whatever I think. So for me, it's very important to just stay away from all these negative things. And then, if, like I said, if I go through like a slump, I'll have other techniques. So for example, I go diving. Okay, diving for me, in 3 weeks, I'm going to be in Costa Rica. I'm going to spend a week on the boat. Nobody's going to be able to reach me. I'm going to be literally on the middle of the water, on a boat, and I'll be snorkeling with dolphins. I'm going to do that for 6 days. I'll be there with some friends of mine, and it's going to be great. And then you can't talk to me, and that's all I'm going to do. I'll be in that water with the dolphins. I love that, In June, I'll be in France. I'll be diving sharks, on the coast of Bretagne. Fantastic. In Brazil, in August, I'll be in Brazil. I'll be diving with anacondas, Norway this year, November, I'll be in Norway diving with orcas, And then so I'm always like, planning trips and things like that to completely take me out of my element, to completely be like a whole new distraction. So I reset myself mentally, because sometimes when you're in your business too much, you think too much is not a good thing. You always need to just kind of step out once in a while. And that's how I keep my sanity. This, and of course, working out, right outside my door over here. I got a 5,000 square foot gym, which is only for me. I got the best equipment on the entire planet. Most of this equipment, I built it myself, and I have the best workout. And I try to work out once or twice a day, and so it just, again, it helps me to clear the emotion and stuff like that. Because me, I want to make sure I stay in a neutral space as much as possible. I don't want to be, on the top on cloud nine. I don't want to be below. I want to be just neutral. That's what I'm looking for, that balance. That's where that's where I function the best, is where I make the best decision. But taking time off is actually, I think, a very important point. So for anyone who's listening to the podcast, if you're just being like on this 3 months downward spiral, and, and then you're just having a hard time to just pick yourself back up, go take a fucking vacation. Don't think, just put your fucking cell phone, get a new cell phone where you put your friends, no fucking business contact, and do something completely fucking different. And don't think about it. And take a week, 2 weeks, take a month off, literally do that, completely reset, because you need a new perspective. Because when you're caught in a downward spiral, that's all you can think of. You just are like caught in that loop,
That's right.
and so when you work for yourself, this is inevitable. You don't have a rich daddy. I don't have like, hey, dad, can you loan me a couple mil,
Yeah.
Hey, mom, I need 10 mil. Can you give me 10 mil, and then so you just like, you are on your own. You really are, and sometimes it's great and you're on top of the world. And then sometimes it's a scary feeling. But the reality is you need to manage both emotions, because if you don't, you will tank.
Yeah, no question whatsoever. I love that. Just get out and just take a vacation, because you're right. You just start to spiral downward, and all those thoughts, all those emotions, it just keeps getting worse and worse. But if you can
Yeah.
separate yourself and get out of it, that is exactly one of the reasons why we do our retreats, where we take business owners completely, we remove them from the element. This year we're going to Montana, and we're also going to Costa Rica at the end of the year. But that's
Nice.
the Right. That's the idea, is like, get out of your day-to-day environment, surround yourself with other business owners who also, want to improve, who are motivated, and good people, right? Good people, good thinking, a team of coaches, everybody who's there to support you, but just get out of that day-to-day and completely reset everything. And I think that is why we see, like, after our retreats, everybody leaves there and they just do amazing things, because they're refreshed, they've reset, they've change their thinking, they've stopped those negative spirals, and they're super, super popular. But one of the things that you mentioned, and I would love to get your thoughts on this, is that, so about, I guess it's probably been about 2 years now, I decided that I was going to do a Spartan race. And I remember back in the 90s doing Pilates on a reformer machine. And I remember the reformer and learning about it and being like, what is this thing? Like it was
I know, right?
it
Yeah.
was this crazy thing I'd never heard of before. And but a couple years ago, I decided I was going to, reclaim my fitness and do a Spartan race. And so I wanted to do 3. And what ended up happening was I ended up doing 12 over the course of a year. And over the course of the year, by working my way up and doing these races and putting myself in these situations that were really uncomfortable, they were really hard, the miles, the distance, the terrain, all these things kept getting harder and harder. But what happened was that my revenues in my business tripled. And it wasn't that of course, I was trying to grow the business, but to have triple growth that year that I also really did so much more in my physical fitness, like that to me was like, whoa, what the hell happened? And that's actually what was the inspiration behind creating a retreat where we now take business owners and we pair the coaching and the Spartan race together. And so you being like the fitness guru and changing the whole fitness industry and turning Pilates upside down, I don't think they might not have wanted that, but you turned them upside down anyway. Like what are your thoughts on your maintaining your physical fitness and how that corresponds with success in business? I would love to hear your take on that.
Absolutely. For me, it's all about energies. I really think that, when you take time off, first of all, when you're downward spiral, all you do is you're forcing your body or forcing your mind to operate at the lower frequency, and you keep attracting everything at that lower level. Taking time off, exercising, doing something different. Now, by the way, I love what you do, because when I was doing my master's in business at Seattle University, my favorite classes there were the leadership classes, where we'd actually take the whole class. We'd spend a weekend basically at the monastery just outside of Seattle. They had like a parkour, and then you had teams, and then teams had to basically figure out how to. It was an intellectual and a physical effort, right? Because you had all your team members. So let's say you had all your team, and you have to take them at the end. You have to take them on the other side of that wall, for example. Mm-hmm. And not everybody is strong or whatever, and you have to figure it out and use everyone, right? I absolutely love these classes. I will tell you that could have been actually a career for me, because I love what was happening in that weekend, the emotional transformation with people learning how to work together. And that's kind of what I do, the classes, by the way. I really try to unite people. I actually would love to do classes for peace, for world peace. I would go in countries and have people working out together, because I'm like, when you work out together, when you sweat together, you're the fucking same, okay? And we're all the same,
That's right.
So for me, I love things that connect people. Fitness connect people. What you're doing, those leadership classes, those corporate retreats, totally works. And I think that more people need to do that. But fitness definitely has an impact on your mind. Fitness has an impact on your emotions, on your spirituality. And I totally think that, for any entrepreneurs out there and anyone who goes in business for themselves, they cannot neglect their physical body. When you take care of yourself, you vibe on a different level. And what you just told me is very interesting, because it's true that whenever I go on a trip or whatever, or when I do my micro events, for example, boom, 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 bunch of emails, bunch of work comes in, like my work comes in 2 waves. But I've realized that there are moments where I do things like when I go hiking, for example, and all of a sudden I'm getting like texts and things like from just like really great opportunities, right? And that's because, when I do those activities like hiking or diving or I travel or just resting, you just allow yourself to just, again, you rest yourself and you raise the frequency, and you attract everything at those level. Like a lot of people that I meet right now are successful people, but I don't know they're successful until I meet them and talk to them. It's like, oh, it's interesting that it seems that I meet right now is a certain level, because I'm raising myself. And I think that's probably, I would say, it's hard to talk about this because you can't really measure it. You can't say, oh, if you do an hour of meditation or if you go on the hike, this is going to happen. It's going to translate in $100,000 in sales or 300,000, or you're going to get that gig, because you took that vacation to Costa Rica, right? You cannot formulate that. But it is undeniable to me that there's a connection between our vibration of frequency and our success. And I feel like a lot of people out there are not doing the right thing mentally, and they keep pushing those opportunities away because on a frequency level, an energy level, they're not ready to accept it, you know? And so I feel that it just, this connection to me is undeniable. And I want to find out more about that because that is just interesting. I read a great book. So first of all, I don't read books that much because I'm dyslexic. It takes me a long, long time for me to read anything. But I read this book called Think and Grow Rich. Have you read that book? And that's a classic, right? I mean, that's, I read that when I was in college. And I love that last chapter where basically it talks about the power of the mind over anything else, that you can literally sit in the middle of the room and you can manifest success just by thinking. But I don't think it's that easy because I think that you need to think and you need to match the action. But I think by raising your frequency, you can totally do this. And so I think meditation, I think yoga, I think anything where you feel centered, I think that's important. It's funny because a few years ago, to kind of go along the same line, there was an article that was written in a lawyer journal, I think in San Francisco. And one of the lawyers was saying how Lagree was absolutely essential to their practice. And they basically, this whole article was about how Lagree is great for lawyers. And it's funny because we have a lot of lawyer clients, come in and do this stuff. And then sometimes I have lawyers. I had this one lawyer who texted me last year and she said, "Oh my God, I had this huge court. I took 5 classes back to back, to just work out the anxiety." And it's interesting that, that was like the first time that really people are really associating the benefit of the workout and how it actually enhanced their work as well. Because the reality is you can't separate your work from your own personal life, from your family. It's all intertwined, interconnected. So one thing will affect the other. And so why not? Why can't fitness affect your work life? Why can't fitness actually make you more money? Or why can't fitness make your working situation more enjoyable or whatever,
Right. It's so true. And, we talk about the peaks and valleys of being a business owner, and the clients that we see that come in, the ones that are sick and they don't have energy and they are just trying to get through the day. You don't have the energy to get through those peaks and valleys. And so when you're working on your fitness and you raise the energy, you raise that vibration, and you're willing, I think, to take care of yourself. I think there's really something important about I'm willing to love myself first so that I can then go give to the rest of the world, and I can give from a really good place and a very high energetic place. And I think that people that make that shift, and that's actually in our coaching, like we've actually started to bring in fitness. We're business coaches, but it's like we bring that fitness element in because if you don't have that vitality, it's very difficult to show up and be in the place that you need to be to
Absolutely.
receive the information about what your next move is in your business and to actually do that hard work on the days when you got to dig in and you've got to work. And, there's just times like that happen. So I love that connection, and I love talking to other people about that connection because I do believe it's absolutely there. We have a little joke. It's called the vacation lead gen strategy. And so anytime I have clients who are really stressed about, I need more clients, and they're doing their marketing and they're doing all these things, I always say, you know what? Just go on a vacation. And the second you go on a vacation, your phone's going to start ringing. And you mentioned that too. And I don't know what it is about just okay, forget it. Just fuck everything. I'm going on vacation. But you can't do it from fear and desperation. So those of you who are listening right now, if you think, oh, I'm just going to now go take a couple days off, but I'm going to do it from a place of fear and desperation and this better work. It won't work. You got to just let everything go do something that you absolutely love, really get into it. And it never ceases to amaze me for myself and for my clients too. It's oh, and by the way, I landed a client while I was gone. Or I had to take a phone call in the airport or whatever it is. Yeah. Or I came back and there were people waiting for me to work with me.
You know what I'm going to do next year? I'm going to go to the Amazon and I'm going to go do the ayahuasca for 11 days.
Oh, wow.
And I'm doing that also energetically so I can just completely let go and then just accept everything else, because I still feel that no matter what, the business is doing very well, but I still feel like I hold myself back on something. So I just want to completely let go of anything so that I can vibrate higher. So next year in March, I'm going to go deep in the Amazon jungle and then spend 2 weeks with this tribe. And then I'll do the whole ceremony, the whole ayahuasca ceremony. And I hope that it will have the effect that I want and to completely be free and liberated so that I can feel like I can just escalate to these final levels,
Yeah.
And because it's exactly what you're talking about right over here, because I want to be just completely free spiritually and attract everything at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it so much. This has been such a great conversation. I could sit here and listen to you talk and tell all these amazing stories. I
I
love
love talking
all of
about
it.
this. I talk about this all day long to people. We had a training yesterday, teacher
Yeah.
training, and that's what I talked about this exactly to people. I was telling them, for me, like when you teach, for example, and you are completely open and you stop to basically exist when you teach in front of a bunch of people, you become this like conscious energy that has this voice, right? But you cease to exist. Like myself, I never see myself in the mirror when I teach in an environment, right? Um, but you connect with people, and I was telling them, it's interesting is that when you start to really operate from a certain space, you start to receive, like you say, all this information. So when I teach my classes, I never know really what I'm going to do, but I always receive all this information from all my students, and I'm able to cook. I'm able to make this very great, this great workout, because it's a conscious collaboration, right? Or it's a collaboration on maybe on the subconscious level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like I was telling them, like a few weeks ago, I was in San Diego teaching this class. And then all of a sudden, I'm teaching this one exercise that I was not even thinking about doing. It just came out of my mouth. And then at the end of the class is when students say, "Oh, it's so funny because right when I thought this exercise, you actually taught it." I'm like, "Oh, so that was from you," because I didn't know where that exercise came from. And so, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I think if you can connect the spirituality with your everyday life, your quality of life just goes through the roof. I read somewhere that we're not programmed to be happy, and I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if we're meant to be happy, but we can choose to be happy. We can choose to try better. We can choose to do better. We don't have to choose to be fucking sad and then go this and only focus on the negative. You can also focus on the positive, and it will come. It will eventually. You will get there. But there's definitely a link, and I think if you can integrate your spirituality in everything that you do, you're going to have a fantastic life, no matter what career you decide to have.
Yeah, agree completely. I know there's going to be so many people who are listening to this today and so much great information that's going to help inspire them. I have always said you can always choose to be happy. It does not matter your circumstances, whether we're wired for it or not, we can always choose it. And that is always within our intention and within our power. So, Sebastien, just really quickly, would you just let everybody know where they can find you if they want to find out more about Lagree Fitness?
Yes, thank you. So we have a website, www.Lagree Fitness, Lagree spelled Lagree Fitness. You can also follow us on Instagram, Lagree Fitness. You can also follow me on my Instagram, Sebastien.Lagree. Yeah, and if people have any questions too, they can just email us. It's all on the website, all this information. But I love talking to you. I love talking about this. So anytime you want to talk about this, Jennifer, let me know. And I am there for you. I love this. This is my favorite topic.
Wonderful. I love it so much. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. I'll see you next time.
All right, guys, get out there and have a happy, productive day.
Yes.
I hope you found today's episode of the Happy Productive Podcast inspiring. Every successful business is formed by a set of small, consistent, and attainable steps. If you want to learn more, come visit us at jenniferdawncoaching.com to take your next step and learn how to meet your business goals. On our website, you're going to find free resources along with links to the life-changing coaching programs that have transformed the lives of so many of our clients, including the Coaching Academy and our Unbreakable retreats. Many of them started their journey by listening to this podcast. That's it. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episode.